right, so welcome everyone to this webinar for tips for transitioning to WebI 4.3. As many of you know that 4.3 as a BI 4.3 was released in around June in 2020, and it is one of the biggest milestone of SAP BI releases. We have seen big releases like 4.1, 4.2, but 4.3 is one of the biggest leaps in my opinion. The main change, the biggest change that you will see is the FIORI-based interface. The whole user interface has changed and it's FIORI-based, more modern, more slick. So no matter how you use your WebI, it's going to be, you're going to see a significant changes in how you do things. However, it is in alignment with the most popular BI tools around and with SAP's own SAP Analytics Cloud. But since it is quite a bit of transition to get used to the new UI, we are arranging as many sessions as possible to show you and get you familiar with this new interface. Okay, so I'm going to summarize the main changes as well as the new features and functionalities. So let's get started. The new UI is more simplified. So that's a good thing. Now, to get used to our new interface, you can take one of two approaches or a combination of both. One being self-train, you're training yourself, you install Sandbox and try out all the WebI features and the navigation and the new controls there yourself and get used to it. The other approach obviously is more formal training, and we offer some more trainings ourselves. You can find all of that in the website webilikeapro.com. We have one Delta training, where I kind of call this a Delta training, but in the website, you will see that as WebI 4.2 to WebI 4.3 difference. This is a one-day training where we go through the main features and functionalities of WebI, the basic things and how you do them in the new interface. So for this, we're assuming that you already know WebI, you have worked with WebI in 4.2 or 4.1 environment. This is just to get you familiar with the known functionalities and features in the new UI. We also have a 3 days deep dive training, which whether you have experience or a beginner, you can still take this 3 days immersion training where we go through in more details about what all WebI functionalities are there, how you can use them, and obviously how to use them. I received a one-day training from SAP themselves when they came out with the product, and it was very helpful, so I highly recommend it. With that, so let's get started and let's see the things that changed and that didn't change. I'll go through a couple of just a few slides to go over the summary, and then we'll get into the actual system to show you around. The URL format, which is a very good thing, then it stays the same. This will take you to the new launchpad. Then the query panel is very similar to how it was before, with just a few changes in the icons, and there is the way you select the LOV has some new controls. The values from the LOV has a few new controls, but it's more or less the same. The fundamentals of WebI, and this is the best thing, the fundamentals of WebI, how WebI works in general in the background. If you know WebI already, all of that stays there. So you don't have to learn WebI in general, how WebI works, how calculation works, how calculation engine works, how aggregation works, how query, report, documents, all those concepts are still the same. There are many right-click options that you will find as you used to do in 4.2 environment, and most of the naming conventions are the same, which SAP always has a tendency to come up with new names. But I think you will find that most of the names you're used to, the terms you're used to in WebI are still the same. High-level summary of changes. We have a unified query panel, which means that other than Universe, any other data sources like Excel or CSV, they all have the same query panel right now. If you remember in 4.2 environment, any environment before, if you're querying from an external data source like Excel, the query panel looks very different. But now you will see the same query panel as Universe. There are some new data sources. There is the dimension measure, those objects in the Universe, the icons have changed. The run button has moved, which for some reason took me a long time to get used to somehow. So I want to point out that if you're not if you're looking for and not finding the run button because it has moved, there are some new panels. Once then past the query panel, when you're in the canvas in the report manager area, there are new panels. That's the biggest addition and changes that you will hear about and see the new panels, and we will see how the old panels and the top fat ribbon that you used to see in 4.2 world, how those have been reorganized and regrouped in the new panels. We will see that. There are the two panels. One is called the main panel, where you will find all the document level information and any document level elements you will find under the main panel. The second panel, it doesn't have a very solid name. It's referred to as site panel, sometimes as a build panel, a design panel, but truly it's kind of the builder's workbench or the designer's workbench. That is where you will do most of your design. That's where you will find all the element level property, depending on which element you're selecting, whether a report or a section or a block or a chart or a cell, depending on what you're selecting, which element you're on, you will see their properties there. All your formatting you will be performing in the site panel, and data assignment, they will happen in the site panel. I wanted to show a quick comparison between the 4.2 and 4.3 panels. If you remember, these are the 8 panels that 4.2 offered. Document summary, where you have all document level information, the navigation map, where you could see the report tabs and section headers, input controls, user prompt input, available objects that you use the most during development, document structure and filter, another panel that we use heavily for development, right? And then shared elements and comments. Now, those panels are now regrouped. So under the main panel in 4.3 environment, you will find the equivalent subpanels for document summary, navigation map, report filter and structure, available objects, shared element and comment. You will find them under the main panel. The input controls and the user prompts, you can see the user prompts being selected and what all prompts are there, and the input controls on the filter bar, not in a separate panel. You will find them in the filter bar on the top. The user input, user prompt input, refresh, that lets you enter a prompt and run. That has been combined with the refresh data option within the toolbar. And then all kinds of data assignments turn into another element options. Most of the features and the controls from analysis tab, those are now under the site panel, or the one that I was referring to as build panel or design panel. Then if you remember the right click when a block or a chart, when you right click and go to format chart or format block, all the formatting options that you used, they're also under the site panel right now. And there is a new sub panel called object property. will see that. Okay. There are a few new things that you can leverage. These are the most important ones. Look for these buttons in this new world: the ellipsis button, the setting button, and the instant apply button. Many of your right clicks have now, you can now use ellipses in place of that, and things like manage break, manage sorting, all those features and manage options that you used before, they're now are found under the setting buttons. And there is a new button called instant apply. We'll see that. You can control to apply your changes instantly, or you can turn that off. WebI data model is a new feature where you can save a WebI report and then use that as a source to create more reports. And then you can change the theme of your, it's a user setting, you can change the theme and the look and feel of the system in general. And then there is a new presentation mode. We'll see that during the demo. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna go to the actual system. Lucy, can you confirm if you can see the actual portal, SAP Business Objects portal, and not the slide anymore?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So this is a new panel, sorry, the new UI. I'm gonna go to the home page really quick. With that home button, this is how, as soon as you log into the system, this is where you land. This is your home page, landing page, however you want to call this. I'm logging in as administrator, so I have all the options available here. These are the main tiles, and from under applications and WebI, you can launch a new WebI document. Okay. And then it will prompt you with all the data sources. You can see WebI document is a new data source. And now in last year, December, SAP released Service Pack 2. With Service Pack 2, you also have Google Drive and web services as new data sources. Okay. So that's how you start and launch your WebI document. I'm going to switch to a document that I have already created. And you can see this ellipsis button everywhere. In fact, if I go back to the home button, I want to show you how. So whenever you see a document and right click, all those right click options in 4.2, they are now grouped under this ellipsis button. So if you click on that ellipsis button, you will see those similar options available. Okay. Since I have already opened that document, I'm going to go back to that. Excuse me. So these are the two panels I mentioned before. So the one on the very right is called the main panel, and it has these subpanels called document objects, which is the equivalent of available objects panel. And if you hover over them, it will actually show you what they are. So you will see all your queries, all your objects, variables, merge dimensions, time dimensions, geo dimensions, all of them will be available under the document objects. And you can switch between folders and query or alphabetical view. Then this is the report filter and structure. This is your navigation map. This is comments. This is your document summary. You will find all the information about the document. Plus, there are some settings that you can change here. Okay. And then you have shared elements. If you have shared elements added to your report, they will be listed under here. Okay. And you can hide or show that. That's another good thing. So you don't have to have that open if you don't need them all the time.
Pranali, we do have a question that came in the questions panel, and is from Tom Nader. Are those two panels, main and order, main and other, locked, or can you move them?
You cannot move them, but as I showed, you can hide them if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, when you show them, this is where they will show up. Now this is a side panel. I'm going to bring this back. So the side panel will have these three subpanels again. So one is a show report data, under which you'll see data assignment. This is called the formatting panel. Depending on what element or what part of your WebI report you're selecting, the formatting will vary according to that. So just like when you click on a block and right click and go to format table or format chart or format report, the options you get in that pop-up box, they vary just like that. These options will vary as well. So when I click on the blank space, it's the report name. This is so all the relevant properties for a report will be shown here. And this is a new panel called object property. If you select any object from the document object lists, it allows you to change the name, or depending on what you have selected, it allows you to change the qualification and add an aggregate function. So you can make those changes. You can do that for universe objects as well as for external data sources. And this is where, so if you're selecting, if your data source is an Excel spreadsheet, in the old environment, you set the qualification in the query panel itself. In 4.3, starting SP02, you will actually set them directly over here. So you will not be setting the qualification from measure to dimension or dimension to measure in the query panel for Excel or CSV. You will do that here. Okay. So right now I'm selecting a table and it shows the name of the table. You can change it right there. This is the base element. This is called the, and then you have more sub panels here. So the first one is called a feeding panel. So think of feeding panel as something where you feed the data to the block. And the beauty of this panel is that you have all your objects that's assigned to this block right here, listed right here. And you can either move them, hide them, edit the formula, or you can simply delete them. Or from the available objects panel, you can drag them right here. Or you can move up and down. And that will change it over here. Okay. Now you won't see that change happening here right now because remember the instant apply button I mentioned, that is unchecked right now. If I check it, actually first I have to click apply. So now they are available. So if I bring in some more objects, it gets added to the table right away. And you can format here as well.
Ronali, we have one more question that just came in. And it says, does it show hidden objects too?
It does. So, but you will know that it's hidden. So if you hide, it's going to show, stay there, but then it's going to show in italics and with this icon with an I and crossed out. That means it's hidden. And then you can simply switch it back to show here. You also have the turn into option in this feeding panel. So if you're selecting a block, then you change it to a different type of object. Then you can do that right here and it will change. And then say if I change it to a column chart, it's going to do its best as data assignment as possible. And now that it's a chart, it has category access under the data assignment. It has category access, value access, color, and you can switch them around or bring some more from here and change your data assignment. But they have also kept, like, if you right click on your block, you still have, because out of habit we tend to do that. If you select turn into, it's going to bring you here, but you still have that option of turn into assign data of things over here. Okay. The formatting panel, it's divided in 4 main categories. One is the display. One is what's this called? The appearance. So depending on what kind of object element it is, table or cell or chart, borders, background, few other things will be available there. And then this is where you change the colors, many other style related properties. And again, these are all properties that you have used under the format chart option by switching between global to legend to value access, display value. All those properties are regrouped here. And this is where you set the layout. You do the relative positioning, the size, and some other layout related properties, margins, all of that. Let me check on the time really quick. Okay. And then on the top, let's go to the top for now. You'll see that the top toolbar is now very lean. You have a few things there, but not as many, so many panels and subpanels as in the subtabs as in the 4.2. You go to the query panel from here. Anything related to the query are grouped under query. You can insert any chart elements or any blocks, cells from here into the canvas. So for example, if I want to insert a chart, I can do it right here. And then I can assign the data from here. Okay. The filter bar, it hosts any kind of input controls that you have defined. So I have an input control on, I think it's the product name. So I can select 2 and click OK. So that's my input controls, and I have 2 prompts. This is where it shows the existing prompts and the values that I have selected. And if you want to refresh, you can simply run the report, rerun the report from here. Okay. And from the display section, you can set the zooming, page layout, all of that under here. Okay. Now, let's go to some of the new features. So the report tab names, you've probably noticed it by now. They are moved from the bottom to the top. But in SP02, Service Pack 02, a new feature has been added in which you can hide a tab completely or conditionally. Okay. And this is where you set it up under the formatting tab. So you select the report tab, and then on the formatting tab, you can either do a hide always or hide when formula is true. If you remember this option from 4.2, where you can set a condition for a block and a chart, now you can do the same thing for a report tab as well. Remember, you have to have at least one report tab shown all the time. Now in the design mode, you can see right now I'm in the design mode. So you can see all the tabs, but it shows that this is going to be hidden. This is going to be conditionally hidden. I have a condition set here for this report tab. If the revenue is less than a certain value, I want to hide it. I have a similar condition for this. Now, if I switch to reading mode, it's going to apply the logic for conditions and for complete hiding. It's going to take it from there. With a custom launchpad and assign that as a default start page, and that still be done in 4.2. So if you mean the login page, I believe you can still do that. The login, the main page before you log in, you can still do that. Okay. Now there are some new features that I want to show you. So when you have your report developed, you can display that in in presentation mode. So under the display, there is a presentation mode, both in reading as well as in design mode. So one new thing in 4.3 in general, you can set up auto refresh, and you can set the time in minutes. And then you can switching between tabs, and the times for how long it will stay on one tab. And then you can also select which tabs you want to display in presentation mode. A lot of times, organizations have a dashboard displayed in a big room or on a like a floor, on a factory floor. And maybe in that particular screen, you don't need to show all the tabs. You just want to select a few that's going to refresh, say, every 10 minutes. If you want to show a couple of tabs, then you can set up the switch reports tab time. Just make sure you notice the minutes and the seconds. And you can set that all up. Yeah.
Ronali, quick question that just came in. Is from Pat Billinger. In 4.2 and earlier, you could create a custom launchpad and assign that as a default start page. Can that still be done in 4.3?
Yes. So if you mean the main login page, yes, you should be able to still do it. There is also a new thing called Theme Designer. That's probably its own. It's going to be its own presentations. I'm not going to go into the detail of that, but you can design the theme and change the overall theme as well. Actually, before I go back to the home page, let me show you the query panel really quick. So this is how the query panel looks like, very similar to how it looked in 4.2. But as I said, these are the dimension, the green ones are detail, the orange ones are measure, and the funnels are the predefined filters. So those icons have changed, and the icons on the top to show or hide a particular panel or combined query, query properties, view SQL, all those options are still there, just that the icons have changed. But as you hover over, you will see what they are. This is the run button. They have moved it to the lower right corner. It used to be on the top right corner before, but now it's on over here. So this is, as I was saying, a lot of times took many of us to get used to. After defining a query, we will look for that somewhere here, but they're actually right over there at the bottom. Now, one good change is apply changes and close button. It used to be hidden under a drop down before, but now it's very obvious, and I have received feedback from a lot of our users that they really like that it's obvious. Under the drop down, many people didn't know that this option even existed. And the query names are also on the top, and the add query button is on the top as well. And you can maximize this one. I want to show you the new formula editor. So this is the create variable button, and this is the formula editor, the variable editor. They look the same, except the variables will have name and qualification. You will see that it's a small formula, but it has colors, syntax highlighting within this. So this is a new feature. However, if you don't like it, you can hide that one. It's called the syntax highlighting. If I turn that off, then all of the text within the formula will have the same default color. But if you like to show that, okay, this is object, these are formula, these are dimensions, these are value, you can turn that on. Also, you can add comments within the editor, not necessarily, you don't have to do that in the description. So
Hey, Renali.
yeah.
A question just came in. Where is the revert and close option on the query panel?
So the revert option is not there. If you click cancel, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to act as the revert and cancel changes.
Got it.
Okay. All right. Now let me make sure I have gone through all of the new things. Yeah, I talked about the instant apply button. And as I said, you can either check or uncheck when you're making multiple changes to a block. You might want to turn that off, make all the changes, and then if you make any changes, the apply button will be activated and you can click apply. One other thing to remember to get used to this, that when you're selecting a block, you will see a little drop down there. From there, you can actually navigate to different subparts of that chart. Or you can simply use this arrow to go into the detailed properties. If you select a part of the chart on the canvas, again, that will be automatically selected on your property formatting panel. So for example, if I click on the legend on the chart, it's going to directly take me to the legend. Okay. And the last thing I want to show you.
And Renali, can you still drag and drop to the block like in 4.2?
Yes. So let me go to the fading panel. The easiest way to do that is dragging to the data assignment area, but I can still, let me change it back to a table. Easiest to show here. You can still do that. And all your filtering, sorting, ranking, and break are now grouped under the data element. All your analysis related functions, they are now under the data element or the report element tab. If I add a rank, you will see this dot here. So, and that means even when you're, actually you won't see that there, but no matter which sub panels you're on, you will know in your design mode that that particular block has a sorting applied and a ranking applied. So all your break, filter, sort, rank, they usually give you, they have a visual clue that, especially, and that's very useful when you're in troubleshooting mode. You're troubleshooting a report, you know that, okay, if something is not showing up, that's probably because there is a ranking applied. So you go there, and this is the setting buttons that I mentioned, that for break or filters or sorting, you always go to the settings button, and that will show you how you have configured that particular feature. In the queries view, this is also a new feature in 4.3. If you're in the queries view, you can actually go to the query panel directly from the query. So you can select query 4 and click edit. And it will take you directly to the query panel for query 4. And I have heard from many Desky users, they love these features. They used to have that in Desky, but never in WebI. So they really like that. So if you are one of them, you'll probably be excited about that. And the last thing I want to show is in the query panel, when you're setting up either prompts or values, again, you need to, any kind of properties, you go to this setting buttons and you can set things up from there. If I switch it to values from list, this is the list of value screen. And this is where you can sort the values, or you can select values. It will be multi-select or single select based on what your operator is. But you will also see a settings button there. So make use of that if it makes sense. But this screen looks a little bit different from how it was before. And then from the home page, there is a user setting. Your preference options from the 4.2 world are still there. They're under the account preferences. But you will also see this new option called appearance, and you can select between any of these themes. And this is again at the user level. Okay. So yeah, with that, that's the end of the presentation. If you have any questions, any other questions, I can show you for the rest of the time.
I don't see any more questions at this time, Renali. We had quite a few, and that was a fascinating session. Thank you so much. I think that helps people a lot. Obviously, the big change here is this this new UI at WebI 4.3, and this is the thing that you know, most people are going to need to master as they move across. A couple of questions now coming in from Neil Miros. You have to use Fiori with 4.3, correct?
Yes. So that is the only interface you will get. And there is no Java HTML switching anymore. That's the single interface you get.
Right. And just to add to that, I mean, the key here is you have now one UI HTML. And so it's the same both on the desktop and the tablet mobile as well. Another question that came in is the CMC look also updated?
No. So I was going to say that the CMC still looks like the classic CMC launch CMC. That has not changed.
Right.
In the recommendations, actually, you can see these, and I've already gone through them, so I'm not going to repeat. But I'd like to add one point that if you're in 4.2 right now, try using the interactive viewer or the Fiori launchpad, and at least show it to your super users. You cannot develop or design there, but you can see the Fiori, the interactive viewer, the Fiori launchpad for reports that are already developed. So the URL for that is your server name, port number, /BOE/BI launchpad with capital L.
Okay, a couple more coming in. Can you expand a subquery window?
I'm not sure what you mean by expanding the subquery window.
Expanding it, yes.
But this is where you can define your subquery in the query filter. But okay, I see what you mean. No, I don't think so. I think you're saying if we could just expand like this, just the subquery part. No, I have not seen that. No.
And then is it possible to show the visual indications of filter, sorting, rank, break, as you mentioned on this slide?
On the side, so when you're in reading mode, okay, 1 second. I'm not 100% sure what your question is, but if you're asking, like if I have a rank applied and in the reading mode, if it can be seen here, actually, no. No, that's a good question. I think the launchpad, the interactive viewer used to have that. But no, not here.
So it's not there in reading mode, is what you're saying?
No, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're good to go on the questions, and thank you so much again, Renali. So let's hand it back to Lucy.